From Westminster to the corridors of Parliament, the calls for Starmer's resignation are growing louder. The public is fed up with a leader who is out of touch with reality and no longer has the ability to lead. However, the fuse on Starmer's ticking time bomb is now about to hit the detonator as he decides to make a reckless move to confront Farage. Stay tuned for this next development. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest updates from British politics. Today, the atmosphere in the House of Commons has become as tense as a taut string as MPs prepare to vote on the controversial assisted dying bill, a proposal that would give terminally ill patients the right to end their lives with dignity. As debates intensify and tensions rise, a sudden moment left the entire chamber in stunned silence. Keir Starmer, the Labour Party leader, shocked the entire House when he left his front bench, crossed the floor of the Commons and walked straight over to Nigel Farage, the controversial leader of Reform UK, who has long been a vocal critic of his government. A video currently making waves on social media shows Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, leaning in to speak with Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK. The two exchanged a brief smile, possibly sparked by a joke, but almost immediately their expressions turned tense and serious. This scene unfolded in a politically divided environment where every gesture is likely to be analysed and interpreted. Farage gave a slight nod, Starmer made a subtle gesture, and their conversation ended as suddenly as it had begun. Starmer turned and walked quickly back to his Labour colleagues, leaving Farage and the crowd of MPs behind. The exchange between the two lasted only a few seconds, but it left a significant ripple, raising many unanswered questions. In a room where division and hostility dominate, the calm exchange between these two figures, representing completely opposing political stances, inevitably sparks reflection. This meeting raises a big question. What led to this rare moment of communication between Starmer, who represents the progressive politics of the Labour Party, and Farage, who has become a symbol of Brexit and a staunch opponent of the Labour Party? Furthermore, the timing of their encounter adds to its intrigue and mystery. The assisted dying bill, one of the most divisive pieces of legislation in recent British political history, is the centre of today's debate. The bill, proposed by Labour MP Kim Leadbitter, seeks to legalise assisted dying for terminally ill patients with less than 6 months to live. In order for the procedure to go ahead, the patient must receive consent from 2 doctors and a senior judge. For supporters, it is seen as an important step forward in protecting individuals' right to decide their own fate in their final days. Starmer, one of the strongest proponents of the bill, views it as a necessary and humane reform. In his opening speech, Starmer emphasised that this bill was not a political issue, but a humanitarian one. He argued that it is the right of each individual to decide their fate when faced with unbearable pain and helplessness. However, opposition to the bill is fierce and intense. Farage, who has consistently held conservative views on social and cultural issues, is one of the fiercest opponents of this bill. With his media platform on GB News, Farage has warned of the dangers he believes are posed by state-sanctioned euthanasia. He argues that legalising assisted dying could devalue human life and open the door to a slippery slope of dangerous consequences. In line with Farage, Conservative MP Danny Kruger has also voiced opposition to the bill, describing it as a thoughtless solution to a complex and sensitive issue. Given the stark contrast in views, Keir Starmer's decision to approach Nigel Farage at such a delicate moment has sparked waves of speculation and curiosity among the public. Could this be a shrewd strategy by Starmer to soften Farage's criticism, or was it simply a move to show support for an issue that has no direct bearing on him? Or perhaps it could have been a rare moment of human connection when 2 former political rivals cross paths amidst a storm of controversy. Adding to the mystery, the sudden departure of David Davis, a Conservative MP and longtime friend of Farage, just as Starmer approached, only deepened suspicions about the true motives behind the meeting. Davis, known for his involvement in intricate political manoeuvres, hurriedly left, prompting many to wonder whether this was a deliberate action to create private space for Starmer and Farage, or whether he was avoiding a moment that could potentially alter his career if captured on camera. As the debate continued, MPs returned to the core issue, focusing on the assisted dying bill. After hours of heated argument from both sides, the bill passed its second vote with 330 votes in favour and 275 against. Kim Leadbeater, the Labour MP who introduced the bill, declared the result as a victory for compassion and personal autonomy. She proudly stated that Parliament had taken a significant step forward in giving terminally ill patients the right to control their own fate and dignity. Despite the recognition of this result, Farage remained firm in his opposition. After the vote, he condemned the decision as a dangerous one and pledged to continue his fight as the bill progresses to the committee stage. Interestingly, in his statement, Farage made no mention of his brief conversation with Starmer, leaving many to question the true nature of their relationship. Although this moment grabbed all the headlines, it wasn't the only controversy Labour faced today. Earlier, the party came under intense criticism after MP Tahir Ali called for the introduction of blasphemy laws in the UK, citing a United Nations resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts. In Prime Minister's questions, Ali argued that the UK should follow suit to protect religious communities from intolerance. Starmer's response to this proposal was cautious, yet somewhat ambiguous. While he condemned blasphemy as a horrible act that could cause societal division, he did not fully reject the idea of creating a blasphemy law. This sparked criticism from politicians across the spectrum. Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe condemned the proposal as a dangerous attack on free speech, while Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch firmly stated that blasphemy laws had no place in the UK. The debate intensified further when GB News presenter Lee Anderson voiced his strong and outspoken views. Political commentator Amanda Pogel argued that those who do not respect British cultural values should reconsider staying in the country, a remark that provoked outrage from union member Andy Twelves, who strongly opposed the comment. The debate grew even more chaotic when Anderson sided with Pogel, stating that if people did not respect the laws and cultural heritage of Britain, they should ask themselves what they were doing there. As the Labour Party struggled with the fallout from Ali's comments, a new crisis erupted with the resignation of Transport Secretary Louise Hay. Hay, who had acknowledged a past fraud case involving a lost government mobile phone, claimed that Starmer had been fully aware of the incident when he appointed her to the cabinet. This led to sharp criticism aimed directly at Starmer, accusing him of hypocrisy, especially given his relentless criticism of Boris Johnson over ethical breaches related to the party scandal. Shadow Cabinet Minister Alex Burghardt raised a pointed and challenging question. If Keir Starmer knew about Louise Hay's past conviction, why was she appointed to such a senior role in the first place? And if Starmer genuinely knew nothing about the case, what did that say about Labour's vetting process? Scandals continued to pour in, but it was Starmer's meeting with Farage that truly captured the public's attention. The image of the Labour leader walking across the House of Commons floor to engage with Farage about their starkly differing political views was not only symbolic, but also shrouded in mystery. Was this a calculated move, a rare moment of bipartisan cooperation, or simply a personal conversation unrelated to the day's political debates? Speculation about Starmer's motives for the meeting continued to spread, but what was certain was that this conversation had added fuel to the dramatic fire of an already chaotic day at Westminster. In a parliament notorious for its tensions and divisions, the brief encounter between Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage became a standout event, making everyone reflect on how, in politics, sometimes small, unexpected actions carry the most profound messages. While the exact content of their conversation remains a mystery, one thing is clear. This story will continue to be discussed at Westminster for weeks to come. This moment, though small, could leave a lasting impact on the public's perception. Though the details of the meeting between Starmer and Farage remain unsolved, its impact is certain to extend far beyond the House of Commons. However, as the nation focused on the vote that would determine the future of public services, a real political bombshell had just dropped. Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, was caught up in a scandal that has kept the public buzzing. And this was no mere whisper behind closed doors. It was a loud, chaotic storm rapidly spreading, threatening to shatter the image of integrity Starmer had worked so hard to build. The man who once promised to bring clean and trustworthy politics is now facing unavoidable questions about his relationship with Lord Ali, a powerful millionaire donor. From multi-million-pound townhouses in Soho to luxurious penthouses in Covent Garden, the list of privileges Starmer enjoys is truly staggering. These aren't just ordinary privileges, but extravagant gifts that can only be accessed by the elite, people most others could never reach. While the public has only just begun to learn part of the truth behind these gifts, it's enough to raise serious questions about Starmer's transparency. Could this be a sign of the decay in the image Starmer has carefully crafted for so long? The first cracks began to show when Starmer received gifts from Lord Ali. Initially, these gifts were regarded as ordinary political donations, but now the truth has been ruthlessly exposed. What were initially seen as mundane gifts have now turned into controversial accusations, with details emerging about lavish properties, designer clothes worth thousands of pounds, and other luxury perks. Starmer's team has tried to downplay the situation, hoping the story would fade away. But all their efforts have failed. The deeper the story goes, the worse it becomes. Lord Ali's generosity was not just about ordinary gifts, but signs of extreme luxury. Tens of thousands of pounds in allowances were reportedly given, though much of it has yet to be publicly declared. Transparency is the core element of building public trust, and Starmer's failure to fully disclose these gifts is prompting serious questions about his integrity. The situation reached a climax when leaked information revealed that Starmer had used a £4 million townhouse in Soho, funded by Lord Ali. This was not just a private retreat, but a key strategic hub for Labour's election meetings. What is most striking is that all of these details were kept secret. Not only Starmer, but also his Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, and Pat McFadden, a senior Labour figure, were involved in these meetings. These were clearly not casual gatherings of friends, but politically significant meetings. Important discussions about the future of the Labour Party were held at an expensive property gifted by a millionaire donor. However, what raises suspicion is why these details were kept hidden. The lack of transparency throughout the story is glaring, and it's hard not to ask if there are deeper issues being concealed. The Soho townhouse Starmer used is just a small part of this complex picture. In addition to the Soho townhouse, there is a penthouse in Covent Garden, reportedly worth £18 million, where Starmer's family stayed for 6 weeks during the election campaign. When the length of the stay became public, the declared value of the property was inexplicably reported as just £2,000, a figure that is completely unreasonable when compared to the actual rental prices in this area, where rent can reach £1,800 a day. These calculations clearly cannot be justified. Someone clearly tried to underreport the price, and this doesn't even take into account another £2 million apartment in Manhattan, which Angela Rayner, Labour's deputy leader, used as a holiday retreat. Once again, the reported value was suspiciously low and hard to explain. All of this reveals a very clear pattern, and as we dig deeper, the situation becomes even more murky and difficult to understand. Lord Ali's generosity is not just limited to expensive properties, but also extends to luxurious items such as designer clothes and other high-end privileges. The scale of what Starmer and his allies have received is truly staggering. However, what's even more surprising is that while he continues to preach about integrity, transparency, and serving the public interest, the reality is the complete opposite. Starmer's actions are truly a textbook example of hypocrisy. He once promised to bring about a wave of political change, but now he cannot justify these wrongdoings. The rules for MPs are very clear. Any gift, benefit, or hospitality that could influence their decisions must be disclosed. But instead of following these rules, Starmer has not only bent them, but has openly broken them. This scandal not only damages Starmer's reputation, but also sparks a serious political crisis. The Conservative Party and the Scottish National Party, SNP, have called for an official investigation into the matter. The Conservative Party quickly seized the opportunity to expose Starmer as a leader lacking credibility, while the SNP continues to demand a thorough investigation into his relationship with Lord Ali. This is not just a war of words between opposing parties, the pressure from other political factions is clearly mounting. Even within the Labour Party, the divisions are becoming increasingly apparent. Rosie Duffield's resignation was a heavy blow to Labour's stability. She publicly criticised Starmer for his hypocrisy, pointing out the stark contradiction between accepting luxurious gifts and the tough economic decisions his party is making, such as cutting winter fuel support for the elderly. These public criticisms only add to the cracks within Labour, making the party more vulnerable than ever. The issue Starmer faces is not just the scandal itself, but the timing of it. Labour was expected to thrive and position itself as the party of change, especially after many years of Conservative rule. However, instead, the leader of Labour is caught up in ongoing controversies, with serious questions being raised about his judgment and integrity. The current situation for him and the Labour Party could not be worse. Starmer cannot afford to lose the trust of voters, but in reality, that is exactly what is happening. Each undisclosed gift, each unreported benefit, further erodes his credibility.